As a little girl, I lived on the East Coast. My family always took vacations to the ocean. While I didn't see a coral reef for the first time myself until I was about 12, my family always stressed to me the importance of them. I remember them saying, "Happy corals, happy ocean." When I was 12, my father took me and my mom on a vacation to the Florida Keys. It was here that I had the opportunity to go snorkeling over the Florida Reef. I remember the water being so clear and all of the colors were so vibrant. Even though the reefs themselves were about 50 to 100 feet underneath me, it looked as though I could reach right out and touch them. Coral reefs are ridges of rock formed in the sea by the growth and deposit of coral. Corals are very unique and very ancient animals. Related to jellyfish and anemones, individual corals are known as polyps, which are very small and very simple organisms that consist mainly of a stomach and a mouth with tentacles. They appeared as early as 400 million years ago. In the past 25 million years, they have evolved into modern reef-building forms. Coral reefs reflect thousands of years of history and are the largest biological structures on Earth. There are as many as 6,000 known species of corals. Coral reefs are restricted to certain areas because they need certain standards to be met in order for them to grow. An abundant amount of limestone is needed for coral reef formation. Formation of the coral reefs occurs best in places where the temperature is at least 18 degrees Celsius for extended periods of time. The formation of the coral reefs are not limited to this temperature range. There are some places in Japan where the temperature gets as low as 11 degrees Celsius, and there are others that can survive in up to 40 degrees Celsius. Most corals require very salty water. The water must also be clear so that the coral can receive ample amounts of sunlight. Coral reefs are not only beautiful to look at, but they are of extreme economic necessity as well. Coral reefs are extremely productive and diverse, and because of this, they bring in an impressive amount of money. It is estimated that about $33.6 million a year is brought in from the coral reefs tourism and recreation, fish habitats, and coastline protection. There are several contributors to the destruction of the coral reefs. The more well-known factors are overfishing, pollution, and habitat destruction. Thanks to newly found evidence, more answers have been discovered. It is believed that greenhouse gas, or GHG emissions, and climate change are also big contributors to the dwindling away of the coral reefs. The effects that GHG emissions and climate change impose are higher sea surface temperatures that increase the risk of coral bleaching, and rising carbon dioxide levels that elevate oceanic acidification, which will be a direct stunt in the growth of coral. It has been within the past 30 years that the effects of bleaching have increased. Because of this, coral reefs in the Atlantic and in the Caribbean have deteriorated rapidly. The most severe bleaching of the coral reefs took place in 2005. This was the warmest year of the global surface temperature record at the time. The increase in ocean acidity is believed to occur in 2050 and will occur 100 times faster than any other change that has been experienced in the ocean in the last 20 million years. The depletion of the coral reefs is a result of the bleaching caused by GHG, the increases in oceanic acidity due to increases in atmospheric carbon dioxide, and rising water temperatures will all result in terrible consequences for the corals. What are humans doing to encourage the destruction of the coral reefs? There are two variables to this. Humans have destroyed their environments. As stated earlier, coral reefs need to live in clear water in order to flourish in the nutrients they obtain from light. Pollution that has made its way to the ocean has caused algae growth, which depletes the availability of the light to the reefs and smothers the coral. Overfishing is also a known problem. It has led to an increase in the number of predators that eat the corals. Divers also go in and catch fish from the reefs. They either sell them to fancy restaurants or to pet stores in the United States. This wouldn't impose a threat if they were doing it correctly. Most of the divers that go in to get these fish aren't trained on how to take the fish out carefully. They often blow up coral reefs with explosives and then greedily catch all the stunned fish that are swimming around. By doing this, the divers completely destroy the reefs and devastate what is left behind. The creatures that survived are left homeless, while the coral reef polyps and many of the plants and animals that surround it simply die. Cyanide is also another known way that divers catch fish from the corals. Cyanide is a poison. The divers simply pour the poison over the reefs and let it do its job. Cyanide stuns the fish and kills the coral. The divers then rip open the coral with crowbars and grab all of the fish that are too sick to swim away. The poison itself kills 90% of the fish that live in the reef, and then the reef is destroyed from the poison and from being torn apart. Another reason the coral reefs are of great importance is because they very possibly hold the cure for some of the most threatening illnesses known to man. Corticosteroids is an enzyme used by corals to protect themselves from disease. This has been discovered by scientists to help aid in asthma, arthritis, and other inflammatory ailments. Pyrozoin, found in both temperature and tropical climates, is a source for the anti-cancer compound biostratin 1. Over 26,000 pounds have been collected by the U.S. National Cancer Institute, and it had very little impact on the population of pyrozoin. Blue-green algae that is most commonly found in the Caribbean mangroves has been used to help with the aid of small cell lung cancer. It was also established in aiding of melanoma and some tumors as well. Currently, there are only 2 drugs derived from marine sources that are available on the market for cancer. There are 25 other marine-based medicines being evaluated in human trials right now. Yondelis, which is the first treatment in 30 years for soft tissue sarcoma, is extracted from the sea squirt. There is a series of organic chemicals that have been isolated from a soft coral called the Caribbean sea whip that seems to have a successful anti-inflammatory effect on human skin. Marine invertebrates, such as sea sponges, produce a bioactive molecule that have shown antiviral, anti-tumor, and antibacterial activity. There are also studies being done by researchers on the bivalves, a class of mollusks, which are helping them learn more about the aging process and environmental stressors. While a lot of this information seems depressing and devastating, there are efforts being made in stride for the preservation of the coral reefs. There are several groups who make it their main goal to educate the public of the destruction being done to the coral reefs. These groups often lobby the United States Congress as well as other nations' governments and encourage them not to buy fish that have been obtained by the destruction of a coral reef. The groups also encourage the governments to put more emphasis on stopping pollution that spills into the ocean and air that aids in global warming, and they're cracking down on people who don't listen. The groups encourage visits to the coral reefs, but they encourage them to be safe so that the reefs aren't harmed. These groups have built artificial reefs to replace the ones that have been destroyed. A few of these groups are called the Coral Reef Alliance, Reef Relief, and Planetary Coral Reef Foundation. Coral reefs are often referred to as the rainforest of the sea. With the array of colors and the high inhabitant of species, it's no question as to why that is. Coral reefs only cover about 1% of the ocean floor, yet they support about 25% of all marine life. They provide food to people who live near them, especially to the people who live on small islands. They provide an income for their tourism attractions due to their profound beauty, and they provide job availability from tourism and from all of the fishing opportunity. They provide a natural protection, serving as a barrier that protects coastal cities from hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones. I think it's time we start helping them.